way to get to Balaclava in the Crimea. "I'm staying at the same hotel," said Errol. "We could ask there." Lonely Agatha warmed to the sound of that "we." It transpired there was a weekend shopping cruise from the Crimea returning to Balaclava on the following day. The helpful Errol said he would go with her to the shipping office. It took them ages back on the other side of the Golden Horn to find it. Agatha was grateful for Errol's company because nobody spoke English. She booked a double cabin, not wanting to share with anyone. Back at the hotel, the ever-obliging Errol told her he was busy that evening, but he would take her along to the ship early the following afternoon and see her off. Agatha phoned her friend, Sir Charles Fraith. "Where are you?" he asked. "In Istanbul." "Great city, Aggie, but you're supposed to be taking a rest. Wouldn't a beach holiday have been better?" "I don't like beach holidays. I've met a nice man." "Uh-huh." "He's really very kind. Reminds me of Mrs. Bloxby." "Uh-huh." "Uh-huh, what?" demanded Agatha crossly. "He must be a very normal, decent man." "He is. I thought so. If he had been unattainable or mad, bad and dangerous to know, you'd have fallen for him." "You think you know me, but you don't," snapped Agatha, and rang off. In the taxi on the road to the boat the next day, Agatha asked Errol about himself, but she barely listened as he explained he owned a small publishing company. In her mind, Agatha was already leaning on the rail of a white cruise ship, while a handsome man stood beside her and looked into her eyes as the moon rose over the Black Sea. The ship was a shock. It was a Russian rust bucket. In vain did they search for another ship. Agatha's ticket was only valid for the tramp steamer. "It's all right," Agatha said to Errol. "It'll get me there. Thanks for all your help." She was assisted by the crew over piles of goods. The decks were blocked with cargo. As she stumbled down to her cabin, she noticed that even the fire exits were also blocked with cargo. Then Agatha realized to her horror that in her haste she had forgotten to say goodbye to Errol or get his card. She dashed back up on deck, but Errol had gone. The other few passengers were Ukrainian women, and the crew were all Russian. None spoke English. Soup was all Agatha could eat at dinner. The ship had not moved. She retired to her cabin and read herself to sleep. When she awoke in the morning, the ship was still at the port. At last it set sail. At first it was bearable, as she was able to stand on a tiny bit of the deck that was free of cargo and watch the palaces on the Bosphorus slip past. But once the boat reached the Black Sea and there was nothing but water to look at for miles, Agatha retired to her cabin, wondering whether she would survive the journey. She had booked a hotel at the Dakar Resort Hotel in Balaclava on the internet before she had left the hotel in Istanbul, and asked for a taxi to meet her on arrival. 2 days later, when Agatha felt she could not bear another bowl of soup, the only thing she found edible, and shuddered at the prospect of another visit to the smelly toilets, the ship finally arrived. As she struggled through customs with the Ukrainian women and their massive shopping, some had even bought mattresses, she saw to her relief a taxi was waiting with a driver holding her name up. Oh, the blessings of a civilized hotel with a smiling, beautiful receptionist and a well-appointed room. The receptionist said, "I was horrified when you emailed us about arriving on that boat. Istagero i Sevastopol, famous for being awful. I didn't think you would make it here in one piece." Agatha showered and changed. She then went down to the reception and asked the one who had welcomed her to arrange a guide and interpreter for the following day to take her to the site of the charge of the Light Brigade. But the next day proved to be a waste of time. In vain did she insist she wanted to see the site of the charge, which had taken place during the Crimean War on the 25th of October 1854, where 118 were killed and 127 wounded. In vain did she take out her notebook and say she wanted to get to the valley between the Feduca Heights and the Causeway Heights. The pretty young translator, Svetlana, persevered with the guide, but she took Agatha to one Soviet World War II memorial after another, all